Hello everybody, welcome to the full walkthrough of the Marker for Creators app. I'm not going to talk about how this app saves you hours of editing. I think you already know that. And you're here to know how to get the most out of it, okay? You're on the right place. So let's start. This here is our main view in the app. In the main view, we can start a session and select one of two session types. What's the difference? So most of the times I'm shooting in time of day mode. The only reason to shoot rec run is, for example, when you have a recording session where you just press record once and the recording runs for hours, okay? Or for the whole session. That's the only scenario I think you would use rec run. So what rec run does, I've connected my camera here. Rec run is essentially syncing up your camera to your marker session manually. Meaning you click record on your camera and on the marker session at the same time. You see here the rec run time code is synced up to the time code of the marker app. The problem is when you stop your recording session on your camera, you also have to stop the recording session in marker. And when starting a new clip on your camera, you also have to start a new session in marker. So to not run into that problem, we have a time of day mode, which creates your markers based on the time of day. With the time of day mode, you can shoot 100 clips, 1,000 clips throughout the day, and your markers later will be synced up perfectly to the right moment. And you just have to run one marker session for the whole day. This is super cool. For example, if you're vlogging and you're a week in Japan, in the morning you start the marker session and film throughout the day. You know, when you're vlogging a whole Japan trip, it's tons of footage you have to rewatch. But now with Marker for Creators, you start your session every day. You mark your great shots. You mark the things you want to cut out. For example, when you're working with an editor, or you can mark whatever you like. So what you have to do in time of day mode, you have to set your camera's time code to the current time of day. As professionals, we work with little sync devices, which we can plug into our gear to sync up our gear frame accurate. But I think many of you don't have such a syncing device, which lucky for us isn't needed here. So what you're going to do is to set your camera to the current time of day. How to do that varies for every camera. So this here is how it works for the FX3 or FX30. You go into shooting settings, time code, and set your time code run to free run, and then set your time code preset to the current time. Hours, minutes, and seconds. Frames you don't have to set. Make sure that it's second accurate. That's completely enough. And in your setup settings under display option, you have to select time code to show up, and your time code will show up here. The cool thing is that time keeps running even when your camera is turned off and also when your battery dies. So there's a little internal battery in your camera which will keep that time running, but I'd recommend check if the time is synced to your Marker for Creators app every day. You can also fix a misplaced time code later on, but it's super annoying and checking the time code takes a second. So yeah, always just make sure every morning that your time code is set correctly. Okay, now let's pretend we're on a shoot where we're shooting our video podcast, for example. I'm going to start my recording session on the camera. And now our talent says something where we know, oh, this is going to turn into a viral reel. So we just mark that moment in the app. We can also, for example, he said something which we want to cut out. We can cut it out with that marker. Or let's say he switches to a new topic. We can also create a marker for that. Those markers aren't fixed. You can fully customize your markers in the settings. So you can choose whatever marker color you like. You can set the name you want. By the way, even while recording, you can change your markers. And what I think is super neat, for example, when you're working with an editor, communication is key. So for example, your talent says something, you know it's going to turn into a viral reel. You mark that moment and then you add a note to it. So I can type in my note and with the left arrow, attach it to the marker we previously set. We can also, for example, we're in our video podcast, we're the producer and we know that it's going to come to a topic switch soon. So we can pre-write our note here and attach it to the next marker we're going to set. So it says here, set marker to add note. And now the topic switch happens. We set the note and the note is added to our marker. By the way, I almost forgot to mention This also works on the Apple Watch. So this is awesome because usually on a shoot we're running around doing 1,000 things, setting up the camera, the lights, then we have to get the talent to perform well, and usually we don't have time to take notes. And even if we have time to write down the current time and the note, it's super annoying to sync that up to the timeline. So now we're being able to set markers on the run while we're doing different stuff. Just a tap on the wrist. You can also create in-out markers, by the way. I forgot to mention that. And it's automatically inserted into the same session we created here. By the way, you can even add a marker here on the Apple Watch and attach a comment to it on the iPhone. So here you see it has been attached to the blue marker we just set. So yeah, that's the main functionality of Marker for Creators. How on earth are we going to import it now? It's super, super easy. So what you're going to do is you stop your recording, stop your marker session, and airdrop it to your Mac. So here's the footage we just shot. Usually you have more than one clip, by the way. So what you're doing is not creating a timeline using selected clips. You're creating a timeline without selecting the clips and then starting the time code the same time your first clip starts. So here, 14:26. Great timeline. And what we're going to do now is you select all the clips you have. This works with hundreds of clips, and insert selected clips to timeline using timecode. And what this does is this inserts your clips based on the time you've shot them. Okay, so you shot the whole day, your timeline is going to be filled with all the clips at the exact time. Our next step is to select the timeline, right click, timelines, import timeline markers from EDL. And here we're just going to drag and drop our EDL markers. And as you can see, the markers are imported in like 2 seconds. So now you can, by the way, see how everything, let me rotate that. You can see how everything syncs up perfectly to the tabs. Also here, your talent says something, so it's going to turn to a viral reel. We set the marker and attached our note, which you can see in DaVinci Resolve. Also, like here, you set the marker to the next marker, you set the note to the next marker. Also, Apple Watch markers in the same session, also the in and out markers. And also here, setting a marker on the watch and adding a note from the iPhone works perfectly. So I think this is the method most of you are going to use the app. If you have any suggestions, if you have any improvements, feel free to write a comment, email me, whatever. If you're a Premiere Pro user or a Final Cut user, you can simply convert your markers with editingtools.io/marker. You can upload your file there and easily convert them. So yeah, just a quick word on the settings. It's crucial for long recording sessions that you set the correct frame rate, else the markers won't be placed correctly after some hours. Okay, so that's the thing you have to look out for. And here for rec run sessions. So by default, DaVinci Resolve timelines start at 1 hour. But some of you might have changed that in your preferences to 0 hours. In that case, in the app, you have to activate the toggle here, else your markers will be misplaced by an hour. So check your DaVinci settings, preferences, user, editing, start time code. If it's at 0, you have to activate that here. If it's at 1 hour, you have to deactivate the toggle here. So yeah, that's Marker for Creators. For me, this app saves at least an hour of editing for about 4 hours of footage. At least. Often it's much, much more. So yeah, I hope it's as helpful to you as it is to me. Feel free to spam me with feedback. I want to make it the best app out there. Please recommend it to your colleagues or your friends. And yeah, I'm happy to hear from you.